All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. This is Mark. Thank you for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing. Thank you for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. Good afternoon and good evening to everyone, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining me today. This is a live stream. So if you're new, the way it works, please share your symbols or your markets here in the chat now. So once I complete my analysis, I can go over the charts that you want to see. We have about, 25 minutes before the stock market closes here in the US, and we have a couple of things to cover. Hey, Alice, good to see you. Jay, nice to see you. Okay, so first things first, let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Hey, Hamid, nice to see you. Okay, so yeah, there's for investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay, now let's begin here with Bitcoin because there's been a lot of questions about this thing. And, people were asking questions in this area here when we started to see some selling activity, earlier, few days earlier, back in this area right here, right? And although we said there could be a buy signal in there, and when it took out this high over here at 13,842, that was a buy signal. But we were against taking a new swing trade long, even though some people were saying, but there's a higher low here and this and that, and all that was true. But the thing is, we have a strategy that depends on high probability locations. So that's where all the weight is placed. This location, although it looks great now after the fact, this was not a high probability location. So here's what typically happens in these situations. And I talked about this a lot back when Bitcoin was pushing 20K and people laughed at me, okay? But situations like this, what it does is it breeds bad habits because these type of breakouts are not common. They happen occasionally, but taking them is high risk. So people that get long and they're in this, they got long at a pretty bad price and the market delivers a reward, that reinforces ineffective behavior, which will hurt them when the next time they try it. Because if you count this type of trade 10 times, okay, it works, once in a while, maybe 1 out of 10 times. That's not good. That's not the type of trade we look for, all right? So yeah, we're not going to take every single trade and hope that this is the one time it goes. And so this time it goes, and here we are, vertical. Now, how many of you, all of you all know because you're all members. Look, Alice has been a member since 2018. Wow. You all know what I'm going to say about this, right? This is a vertical candle, and this is the absolute worst place to buy something like this. But if you go and you check out the fake gurus and you check out everyone else, they're going to use this as an opportunity to write articles and say, yeah, Bitcoin's going to go to 20K and blah, 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 and this and that and whatever. And they're going to get all excited. Their goal is to get more customers. They'll say anything, right? They don't care. But you're the one that has to take the risk. So we have to be extra mindful that, when we put out a trade idea, we have to be extra mindful that people are following us and we don't want to get them into something that carries risk that we wouldn't even take, okay? So, and that's the situation there. Now, this is good if you're long, if it's in your portfolio. Yeah, we have some Bitcoin in our portfolio. We've had Bitcoin in our portfolio since the thing went to 3,000. And people laughed at us back then too. All right, but we have an average price of what? I think 6 or 7 or 8,000. I have to check the thing. I don't even know what the average price is. But in these situations, when we reach such an incredible price, this is where it doesn't hurt to lock something in because you're capitalizing on the herd mentality, which is going to be rushing in on something like this, okay? This is the herd mentality, the worst place to buy. So, people ask, well, where do you buy then, right? If you don't buy this and you missed this move, some people are going to feel bad about missing the move, but there's nothing to feel bad about, okay? A low probability situation that works out after the fact, you're not missing anything, all right? Because you keep taking those, you'll find out. And many of you know because, you have some experience and you've gotten caught in those situations, right? I speak from experience. Now, I had this little line drawn in for a while, this little pullback line. That's what I was hoping Bitcoin would do for our next buying opportunity. But Bitcoin wasn't willing to give us that opportunity. Okay, no problem. I'm not going to chase it. I'm not going to react. I have to adjust. That's all I can do. So at this point, now this 13.8 area, that line that I drew there, that dates back to June of 2019. That was the peak. We've closed decisively above it, and now we've squeezed. Okay, cool, no problem. So guess what? This area now, the high 13s, that's going to be my anticipated support. Now that we're totally away from that 12.3, 11.6 to 12.3, we've completely cleared that resistance and we haven't pulled back to it. Okay, so it may be a support at some point, but I'm not going to wait for that one now. I'm willing to adjust. And the 13.6 area was a resistance. It cleared it. Now I'm anticipating that to be a support. That is how you adjust to these moves. If Bitcoin is going to continue to rally, as you know, it probably won't go in a straight line. Nothing does. How many of you have watched some of these altcoins like Tezos and some of these other ones, back in August? They went vertical, they gave it back, and they haven't recovered, okay? Bitcoin has different things driving it. That's why a lot of these altcoins are going nowhere while Bitcoin is doing this. I mean, real quick, let's take a look at Chainlink, right? LINK, USD. I mean, this thing should be doing better than this. Actually, let's take a look at USDT. Is that the one I want to see? No, it's not the one. All right, let me see. Hold on. Link. Why do they give me these lousy exchanges? It's like it's biased, kind of like the Silicon Valley internet companies. Anyway, okay, so look, something like Chainlink. Okay, yeah, buy signal in it now. This is nice and everything. But here's what you have to consider, because we're getting questions about Ethereum and all that. We're getting some questions about things like Swipe. You have to look at this in terms of relative strength. If you're new, you may not understand what that is. But if Bitcoin is pushing a major high like it's doing right now, this, a coin, an altcoin that should be following the leader, should not be here. This is bad, okay? Something like Chainlink should be up here. That's what it would be performing basically along with Bitcoin, not underperforming. So I would stay away from these. These are not good ideas to get into when they're underperforming. Now, people have hope that, okay, maybe it'll catch up, and maybe some of them will here and there. But this relative strength, if Bitcoin pulls back, where's this thing going to go, right? NEO, USD is another one. Look at NEO. What a piece of garbage, okay? This thing should not be here. So relative to Bitcoin. All right, so just a couple of things to keep in mind. Don't get caught up in these altcoins when the leader is clearly, doing its thing, and many of these are not following. It should be doing, those garbage coins should be performing better when Bitcoin's doing something like this. But obviously all the money's pouring in, right? And the other point that I want to make about these, before I move on to the stock market here, the other point I want to make is this. These things are highly speculative, okay? And most of them don't really do anything. The other thing is people are searching for reasons why, right? So you're going to go to, Cointelegraph, and you're going to go to those other websites. Why? Why is Bitcoin doing this? Why? It doesn't matter why, okay? Everyone, you have to realize the entire herd does that because they're hungry for information. That's why a website like Cointelegraph, they do well, they make money because they're there when people ask why. And they'll just deliver any information. It doesn't matter why. Why is not going to make you money, okay? It's just an illusion of control. You have to ask where. That's what you have to ask, okay? Where? And where is Bitcoin right now? At a high risk level. It's been at a high risk level for a few days. This could have something to do with the drama that's going on with the election. I mean, gold has obviously popped. The euro has popped. We have the FOMC out of the way, right? Maybe this has something to do with all those things. We could sit here and we can try to analyze this all we want. It doesn't matter. It's about where. So to answer that question, where? 13.8. Okay, that's where I want to see it go, somewhere around there before I'm willing to take a chance on this thing for a swing trade. All right, otherwise I'll stay out. I don't care how far it goes. There's plenty of other opportunities. Don't chase. Okay, that's enough of Bitcoin. Any questions about that? Let me know, and I'll answer it as I go through the chat. Okay, now let's talk about the stock market real quick. So let's start with SPX USD. All right, now first of all, we saw everyone that came to my webinar on Saturday. We talked about the S&P here, and I asked everyone in the chat a question. I said, "What is the market telling us?" Now this was pre-election, right? Pre-election day. I say that in quotes because that's a whole nother story right there. But I asked our members, "What do you think?" And everyone said bullish. Everyone said long. Okay, because it was pretty clear. We were at a level of support, possible higher low, slight higher low, or double bottom. This is basically like a double bottom variation. And we were looking at this when it looked like this. Okay, that's what it looked like when we were looking at it. And now here we are up here. So what was in the way though? The election. And I told people, if you want to take some stock trades, we've been taking some trades here and there, but we caution people, you have to be careful because it can start out one way and change really fast. Now, there's been a lot of drama. Logic would tell, my first reaction, like I said in the chat room, my first reaction would be to think with all this election uncertainty, I would think the market would not like that. But it turns out the market seems to like it very much, but it's not the uncertainty that's the issue. It's as Andrew pointed out, the what's going on with the U.S. Senate, and all this other stuff. But I have to say, so you can't use logic in these situations at all. All we can do is look at levels. That's the smart thing to do because logic will distract you or get you on the wrong side at the wrong times. We are at a resistance level, all right? And as you can see, we had resistance back here where I have that blue box back there. What is that? Around 34, high 34s, close to 35. And we had selling activity there. We are now in the same area. We don't have any red candles yet, but I can tell you one thing. Over the next couple of days, today is Thursday, so tomorrow is Friday, Sunday, Monday. If I see red candles develop here, we get a sell signal, I'll be all for shorting it, okay? Buying puts or whatever, just like we sold the Qs back here, because that's a level to sell. That's a resistance. Now, this thing could break out, and that's why you can't step in front of these things, right? You say, oh, we're at a level, I'm going to short it. You can't step in front. There's no sell signal. I've made that mistake numerous times, stepping in front of something just because there's a level there, thinking, oh yeah, it'll turn around, and then it may not. So it's too risky to just jump in now. We have to wait for some sort of setup and confirmation, just like we do with stocks. But I point this out because this will affect stocks, okay? So the stock trades that we're going to review, I want to show you a couple of stocks, and then I'm going to get into yours here. Obviously many stocks gapped. Our trade of the week, which was DocuSign, gapped immensely, and you can't chase those things. After the fact, it looks good, and you're like, oh yeah, well, forget it. If once it's gone because the risk is too high, right? The next time you get the gap and you buy, oh yeah, it's going to run 10 points, right? And then it goes the wrong way on you. Oh, why did I get into that? It's the effective behavior that counts, and it begins with a level. Okay. Now, okay. So, all right, so I'm going to get into the chat here in a moment. But one thing I want to say too, again, we have FOMC out of the way, right? We closed strong. I don't even know the results of the FOMC because I look at the price. However the market interpreted that FOMC, obviously it liked it because the S&P has not sold off at all. I see a nice, strong green close. That's what I see here. We have 12 minutes before it closes, okay? So obviously FOMC came out favorable or it was a non-event or whatever. Now, we have NFP, non-farm payrolls, is tomorrow. Again, that can change things. If there are any surprises, I don't go into it with any bias or any preconceived ideas. I want to see what the market establishes, and I let the market tell me. All I know is we are at an important resistance level, and things can turn fast. That's all I know. So we'll see. Now, the other thing I have to say is this election situation in this country is a complete embarrassment, okay? I'm not going to get into politics, but I just have to say that, when the electoral system, we're supposed to set the standard, right? Like in democracy and all that stuff, which is represented by our voting system, right? Now, what's going on right now is really, it's not good. And, you would think that this was a country like Venezuela or something. With the nonsense that's going on. So I'm bringing this up because there can be surprises that may come out of that that you can't price into a chart. Okay? So it's not good to go in with any bias. It's not good to go in with any opinion. Let the price tell you what it wants to do. Just like on Saturday when I was conducting the webinar, the price, the location told all of our members we should be thinking long at least, if anything, not shorting, okay? And that was the right thinking. No matter what came out, at least we weren't sitting there saying, hey, this thing's a short, we're going to short this thing, blah, blah, blah. We have an opinion. If the election comes out this way, this is going to be a short. None of that nonsense, okay? The level told us you shouldn't be shorting. You should at least be thinking long, if anything, okay? But being, respecting the risk, because you don't know how people are going to react. You don't know how the market's going to react to all this drama that's going on. All right, so anyway, I just want to point a couple of those things out. Now, let me one more thing, and then we're going to get into your stuff. I want to talk about the euro. Okay, so obviously this is the dollar getting weak. There was some ECB news that came out this week. I believe also today the UK had their vote or something. Something was going on over there. I don't know exactly, but the point is these currencies, the euro and the pound, they liked it, right? And I talked about this earlier in the week. I said I've been saying the euro's a long the whole time, even when it was pulling back. I was saying I'm looking for a long because we're at that type of level. Buying into this, though, was not easy. Okay, there was really no clear buy signal. This little pin bar here, this little thing here, that's not really a good buy signal, especially going into a week with heavy reports that can affect this thing. So again, we have to look at this. We have to consider this a random move. You could have jumped in and taken a lot of risk, but a news event or one of these things could have came out the wrong way, and this thing could have been going to 14 instead of 18, right? So you have to keep that in mind. It looks nice after the fact. So I've been right about looking for longs. There's just been no clear setup, and that's how forex has been. Let's take a look at the pound dollar real quick. Right, look at that. Right, again, strong. So here's the thing. Any pullback on this thing, all right? Any pullback to like the 17s, and we get a setup there, which is possible because although this thing looks strong, it hasn't broken out yet. It's still in a consolidation. I'd be willing to buy the pullback if this thing can go into the low 17s and if it could give us a setup. That's all I can do. And if it doesn't want to do that and it wants to keep giving me like moves without setups, then I just let it go, right? There's nothing forcing us to trade forex. We wait for our setup. We wait for our rules to be lined up, and that's all we can do. We trade the rules. We don't trade our feelings. We don't trade opinions. Okay, so those are the things I wanted to cover. Let's get to the chat now, okay? So Alice, I have a couple of stocks. Let's see what Alice says here. Really nice gains. Is it time to trim off some even if I'm almost for free? And okay, so Alice has a good question here. It is really nice to look at portfolio I build in these years that I'm following you guys. Oh, cool. Well, I'm really glad we had a hand in helping you in that, Alice. So to answer your question, when you're up a lot like that in stocks, it never hurts to take something off the table. Okay, it never hurts. But at the same time, I mean, let's go back to the stock market here for a moment, and I'll pull up the Nasdaq this time. Okay, I mean, look at that, vertical, right? So there's no sell signal. That's what you have to keep in mind here. There's no sell signal. You also took all that pain, you sat through all the gyrations and all that other nonsense, and now you're up nicely in your stocks. So what you can do in this situation, we are at a resistance, but there's no sell signal. So what you can do, perhaps take some off, slightly off. I mean, lock in something, capitalize on what's going on here. But you should at least let some of it run. I mean, because again, there's no reason to sell right now. There's no red pin bar. We don't even have a bearish candle. So this thing may break further. So that's the advantage, at being in from good prices. And you get these situations like in this where there's just no reason to sell. You just let it run. All right, that's the best thing you can do. And let the market decide. But at the same time, like I said, it doesn't hurt to take something off the table. It just never hurts. You just have to decide how much you want to take off the table. I wouldn't take the majority off. So, for example, if you have 100 shares of something, I wouldn't take off 75 shares. Maybe you take off 10 or 15 shares. Just lock something in. Just in case that this turns out to be a high, at least you locked something in. And if it pulls back, you buy those shares back. And at some point you'll be in for free. But that's what I would do in this situation. No reason to sell, then don't sell. I mean, or just sell very lightly. When you see a sell signal, that's when you should probably be more concerned with taking some more off the table. Now, I understand you have tax liabilities with that stuff, so you have to keep that in mind also. All right, so good question, and thank you for the nice compliment. Okay, so let me get through here. DJ, yeah, okay, yeah. So Alice is one of our oldest members. He's been with us very, very long time. And we have Alice, we have Fonz, we have Irina. They're still with us, and they've been with us since the beginning, since we had the other website. So we appreciate them as well because they've been loyal. They gave us a chance when we had no track record. We didn't have the track record that we have now, and they just trusted us and it turned out well for them. Okay. So let's see, here are a few. OSTK, PayPal, and what's the other one there? Groupon. Okay, cool. I'm glad you brought up Groupon because we have a position in that. All right, so let's take a look here. So OSTK, overstock. Now look, a lot of these stocks are going to be showing some sort of bullish leg, right? Now, all right, so here's the thing. Let's take a look at the levels first. We have this situation right there. So you sort of have a failed low situation. You have this nice bullish structure that basically that's what's in play. And you have this consolidation, which is a corrected that structure. And it hasn't really, okay, this is not a bad place. This is not a bad candidate for a long, okay? Because this broad structure is just a giant high or low. So no problem there. You have a failed low with this inside bar. Now you have this vertical bar today, right? So today is not, if you're not in this, today is not a good day to get in this. There's no reason to chase a vertical bar, especially since the market is at a resistance and the market can potentially pull back, somewhat in the next few days. Maybe you'll get a tiny pullback here, or maybe you'll get like an inside bar, give you a better price. Now, another way to work something like this is, I mean, we're closing in a few minutes here. If you buy a small amount of shares, being prepared to average into more if you get the pullback. If you don't get the pullback, at least you get some small amount of shares, and at least you're still participating in it, okay? But how many times do you see these things pull back? It's a frequent occurrence. So it doesn't happen all the time. And yeah, we miss a lot of moves like DOCU. I put the buy limit like $10 below the closing price of Monday or whatever. Thing gaps up like 15 points higher or whatever it was. I mean, what am I going to do with that? You can't do anything with that, So no need to chase. I'm not going to buy something in the middle of the range just because it looks good. I know better than that. So again, I'm looking at probabilities. I don't care about how great something looks. Now, so I would wait for perhaps a test of the 6150 area, or you want to try averaging in. Your risk will be defined by this failed low here, all right, at 55 and a quarter. That's where your risk is defined from. So right now, if you're buying at the 61 area, you're risking about, what, $5, something like that. If you're buying higher than that, this thing is at 68 and a half, that's the kind of risk you're looking at. That's a sizable risk. I mean, that's more than $10. So that's what you have to keep in mind here. Everything looks good until it doesn't look good. So respect the risk. That's how I would look at that. But as far as, what side I would take, yeah, I believe the long. I like the long side. What would be nice to see on something like this would be, it needs to clear this resistance here. You can even use that as a target, as a potential target. But at the 86 and a quarter, is that 86? Yeah, like the 86 area. So that area, that's your right now, your resistance that's in play. So you can even use that as a reference point for a target. Doesn't have to be the only target. You can have like one target in the middle of that, 76 or something, target 2, and at 86, and then target 3 somewhere much higher. Okay, something like that. So I like it. Good question. Let's see what else we got. PayPal. What's that? PYPL? Oh, yeah. So you're going to have a lot of these. Okay, I know there's a lot of these things going on right now. These vertical gap type moves. Can't chase these. Okay, cannot chase these. This is one of those situations where if you didn't buy into it when things were looking ugly the week before, now is a very tough time to get into it, right? It looks like a better time, but look where you're buying. If you're interested in buying something like this, look where you're buying. You're buying right into a resistance area. And remember, the S&P is also in a resistance area. That's why I talk about the S&P first. I wouldn't buy this thing here. Is PayPal strong? Yeah, no question. PayPal is strong. But it's still inside this consolidation. I would wait for at least somewhere near the range low. All right, which 179, 180. It's hard to believe that it would retest that area, but anything is possible. The way you have to look at it is it either provides that opportunity sometime or it does not. Okay, if it doesn't, then it's not really worth taking the risk. Now, another scenario to consider on something like PayPal is it clears this resistance. What is this? What is this high here? 215. It clears it and then retests the resistance as a support. That would offer you another buying opportunity. Okay, but that requires a lot of patience because you have to wait for all that and you're sitting there watching it run without you. Now, again, another alternative to these type of situations is you can go in with a much smaller position. Now, for some people, that may not be worthwhile to do that, but instead of 100 shares, for example, like I said, you buy 10 shares. If this thing has a dramatic pullback, you don't care. You're going to average into it anyway. If it keeps going higher, hey, you have a little piece of it. It's better than nothing. That's one way to compensate for the risk. But otherwise, I'd rather just wait for the better price and get a better reward risk and better potential and all that stuff. Okay, especially since the S&P is at a turning point, even though without a signal. I mean, there's no sell signal here either. Okay, but it is in a range, hasn't broken out of the range yet. So just keep that in mind. Requires a lot of patience. All right, now Groupon. Let's take a look. Oh, and by the way, before I get into Groupon, real quick, and I forgot to mention this. I got to do this. If you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure to subscribe to the channel here. Also, if you like the video, please press the like button, and if you can, share it with your friends. It's very encouraging for me. Also, check out our website at greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas, as Alice can tell you, because he's taken a lot of them. And we also have a chat room where we're updating our ideas and sharing a lot of insight throughout the day. So you can check those out. Now, we have a 7-day free trial. I have to say this. We are raising our prices, and I said this a week before, it's going to happen soon. Our developers are actually working on it. And if you like what we do and you lock in the prices before we raise them, well, then you get our current prices, which are low. Okay, we're not going to raise prices on our members. We're going to raise prices for anyone that joins after we raise them. So I just wanted to mention that. And we're also no longer going to have a monthly membership. Okay, so if you subscribe to the monthly membership now, you keep that membership until you cancel it. All right, so only the people that have it can keep it. Once we no longer offer it, you won't be able to get it as a new member. Okay, and the reason for that, by the way, is so that you're in a better position to receive the benefits of our strategies, because some of them take time. And what typically will happen is someone will join, right? And that 1 month that they join, for example, they're looking for Bitcoin trades, and we may not have a Bitcoin trade that month. So then they quit. But then the month after that, we have 2 Bitcoin trades, and they average 1,000 points. And then you miss it because oh, these guys suck. They didn't call Bitcoin one time. It's the market, okay? We don't force trades. It's the market. So in order to realize the benefit of our strategies, you have to make a commitment, just like we make the commitment every day. All right, so that's why we're doing that. Many of our competitors, they do those long-term memberships for a different reason. They do it to get your money up front because they know that you're going to quit, and they're not providing quality signals anyway. Okay, so you have to watch out for that. Anyway, all right, so let's move on. PayPal. Now, Groupon. I want to talk about Groupon. Now, Groupon is a position that we have. All right, this is a swing trade that I sent out a week ago. And it was into that nasty market, right? It was into all that selling that we saw. And and I'll tell you, let me show you where that was. You can see the trade idea, right? The buy stop was at 21, stop loss was at 18, right? So let's start with that. And let's take a look at that here real quick, because there's some important lessons. Now, that buy stop went off here, okay? Now, the next day, the market looked really bad, and everything sold off the next day, and we had this red bar. Now, the trade was active. I told people in the chat room, if you had not taken the trade, wait. But if you're in it, you're in it. But if you had, waited, because this didn't go off until near the close, right? So some people may have not taken it. Anyway, I said, wait for some sort of reversal. Well, you got that reversal on what is this, Monday? The inside bar, right? So if you had waited for that, you had another chance to get in. And look at it now. So our entry was 21. This thing is now at 20. The high was 23.05. The low was basically 19 and a quarter. And it never went to our stop, which again was the 18, whatever. So this thing is on its way now. If you're not in it, there's no reason to be in it now. Can't chase this thing because again, these things pull back. You're in from a bad price. If you're in from a good price, then great. There's nothing to do but hold on. All right. Now the first target on this thing is 26, I believe. Let's see, was it 26.50 is the first target. That is like right up in here, 26.50. So it's still got a ways to go. So if we get a cooperative market, then this thing, I think it's within reason for this thing to test that level at least, even if it doesn't go to the other two targets. I think it's within reason to test this target in the coming week. I also believe that Groupon has its earnings coming out. It's either next week or the week after. I know their earnings are coming soon, so this could be a run into their earnings report, which is typical. And earnings, of course, can change things dramatically if there are any surprises. So something to keep in mind. You should look up the earnings report. I don't know the exact date, but if they have a great report, great. If they don't, this thing can gap lower. So just something to keep in mind. That's like the equivalent of an NFP meeting for a stock. All right. So I just wanted to point that out. Otherwise, there's nothing to do in Groupon but hold on and let that thing do its job. I believe that with the holiday season coming, and this is a fundamental view that I don't trade on this stuff, but with the holiday season coming, I would imagine Groupon will be in a position to at least benefit from all the deals that people will be pushing, right? Because Groupon is basically a deal platform. So that was my fundamental theory. Anyway, all right, so let's see what else we got here. So thanks for asking. For those, NVIDIA, Qualcomm are the biggest winner along with, oh yeah, Jumia is a nice one. Yeah, let's take a look at Jumia real quick. How's that thing doing? Look at that thing today. What does this thing close at? Wow, 1935. Nice. We got out of this thing at 13, right? 1350 was target 3 on that one. But yeah, that was a big winner. Okay, cool. I know DJ was in that also. Nice. All right. All SPC was one of those. Oh, open a position. Oh yeah, wow. Okay, yeah. I know. I mean, Andrew's been on this one for a long time, and this thing's been all over the place. Nothing to do right now with that thing, but nice job, you guys. Now, okay, so what is the probability that this is a fake out? Now, what I don't know what you mean by that. Like fake out in what? What market? If you can just clarify, and I'll answer that. Alice, are we going to 100K? Now, what's this question there? Are we going to 100K next week? I'll read it from. Yeah, find out from one of those fake gurus. They'll let you know, Alice. I'm sure they'll say 100K, maybe more. DJ, SPY isn't working for me. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the SPY. So that's the S&P 500 ETF. I mean, look, how many stocks? We just looked at a stock that looked like this, right? PayPal looked like this, which obviously tells you, the correlation with PayPal and the S&P. The S&P futures are, or the CFD are obviously a better chart because look at every day this thing is gapping, right? It's because of the overnight action. It's just gapping. It's in the same position as the CFD. Now, DJ, you say that it's not working for you, a loss every time. What was your previous position in this thing? Were you short the S&P? And if you were short, where were you short from? We had a position in the Qs that we had shorted up at this resistance previously, and that position worked out. That we shared that one with our members weeks ago. And that's why my point with these things is, we're at the same level here. This is a resistance. Now that's a pin bar. The thing with the SPY chart is the candles aren't going to be as accurate because the futures are open all night and this thing is not. Okay, so things change overnight. So in this situation, there's nothing to do here. I wouldn't look at that pin bar as a bearish situation. I would let the CFD give you the signal first. And then if you're interested in a short, whether it's the CFD is a good choice, or if you want to short the SPY outright, let's take a look at that CFD again, SPX USD. Look at that. Okay, there's no gaps and there's no pin bar. That thing, there's no sell signal, right? So I would not short this thing yet. It's at a level to be shorted, but there's no reason to short it. So yeah, so DJ, I don't know if you want to clarify, just tell us about some of your previous trades on that thing. Just let us know if you're long or short. Hey, Tarkus. Okay, pal, please check XPEV. Okay, sold at 28 and 32. Okay, you're kicking yourself. You were in from 20. All right, let's take a look. XPEV. Let's see what that's about. Oh my God. All right, yeah, I can understand why you might be kicking yourself. Now, all right, so first of all, let's take a look. Let's look back here a bit, and let's look at some well, that verticalness that's going on right now. Obviously, there's not much you could do about that. The nearest inflection point is all the way here at 22. Now you sold it all at 32. Well, here's the thing, and this thing is now at 36. Okay, it's not too bad. 32 is not bad. You were in from 20. Okay, so that's a nice breakout trade. Okay, nice breakout trade. And I don't think your targets are too tight. You sold some at 28, not bad, right? Because again, first of all, there's no structure to go by here. So when you got long that, when you took that breakout, this thing could do anything. Okay, it may only go up a couple of dollars and then turn on you, right? It could do anything. So I think your targets were reasonable for something like this. Now, one thing that you could have done is if you broke your position into thirds. So let's just say you had 100 shares, right? And you have 33 shares. Each position will be 33 shares. You sold 2 positions at 33 shares, and then you hold on. And you hold on until a sell signal shows up. So it doesn't matter how vertical it is. It's like, okay, if there's no sell signal, you don't sell. You just hold on. At some point, a sell signal will show up. If this thing wants to go another vertical bar tomorrow, hey, you're still in it. Okay, so that's one. When you have these runners like this, you just let them run, but you hold on a small portion. You're not holding on to the whole thing. A beginner mistake, as you know, people say, oh, I sold the whole thing out and I should have held the whole thing. No, that's a huge mistake. You hold on to a portion of it. You lock in profits and you capitalize on these type of moves. And I think you handled that pretty well. So again, in these situations, you just try to hold on to a portion for the runner. And then you don't sell that thing until a sell signal appears. So what will a sell signal look like? You have no levels to go by here, right? Because obviously this thing is producing all-time highs. So all you can do is wait for a bearish candle to develop, whether it's a pin bar, some kind of bearish candle, and that candle is not enough, right? So it seemed too good to be true, right? You're saying for this thing to keep running. Okay, but the thing is, so that's an opinion, pal. That's like a bias that's controlling your thoughts, right? You have to say, look, I have no idea if this thing is going to run to 50. I have no idea if it's going to go back to 0, but I'm going to let the market tell me what to do. That's the thought. That's the rationale you have to have. And right now, so let's say you didn't know about this candle today. Let's say we didn't know that. Okay, all we saw was yesterday's candle. Let's say it looked like that. Okay, at that point, again, there's no sell signal there. There's no red, there's no tail, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. No reason to sell that. So if you had asked me yesterday, what should I do with this? And I would tell you the same thing. Just like I told Alice and just like I told people with Bitcoin, lock in something, right, at that vertical move. Take advantage of the vertical move because you don't know if it's going to give it right back. There's no way to know. And then let the thing run, right? 50, the thing's at $20. Okay, so you're never going to get the top. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up for making money. All right. I could see if you held on to a winner and then it went red on you and then you banged it out and then yeah, I can understand feeling bad for something like that. But don't feel bad about something that runs away, that runs on you and you sold it a little early. You're never going to get the top. Okay. So nice job on that, by the way. So that's the question for that one. So again, pal, like. There's no need to even be complicated with this. Let the candle tell you. In these situations, there's no structure. You can't even do a projection because there's not enough structure. Just let the candle tell you. All right, that would be your best bet. So Qualcomm, Alice wants to see Qualcomm, a gap today. Looking to take some off here. Like you mentioned, get back in. Okay, let's take a look at Qualcomm. Qualcomm is obviously an S&P stock. Oh man, that's a gap. That's a gap, Alice. That's a gap for Qualcomm. I mean, that's ridiculous for Qualcomm. Now, wow. So it would be wise to take something off the table. Nothing wrong with taking advantage of these ridiculous type of moves. That's ridiculous. Qualcomm does not do that normally. So you should take something off. Don't take the whole thing. Now, when you have a doji out this in the middle of nowhere like this is often called an exhaustion gap type of situation, or abandoned baby, whatever you want to call this thing. And this could turn into, try to close the gap situation. And like you see, it didn't give you that close like a nice vertical candle, right? Like we saw with some of those other ones. Instead, you got a doji. So that's uncertainty. You take out the low of that doji, that's going to be a sell signal, all right? Not a short signal, just a sell signal. And it probably attempt to close that gap. Your inflection point on something like this is this level right here, which is 131. I mean, right now this thing's at 145. It's ridiculous. So, well, is DJ going to bring up Roku? Are you talking about? Yeah, right, Roku. I remember that. And I remember saying the same thing to you, and it went higher. Roku actually went higher before. I mean, let's just compare that to Roku real quick, because I remember we talked about buying puts on that thing, and the puts were ridiculously priced. Here, right? That situation with that abandoned baby situation, that was back here on Roku. Okay, see that? And it went higher, and then eventually went lower. And now it's, nice higher low. Man, we missed Roku again. That could have been a long. Missed it. Anyway, so let's go back to Qualcomm, and we don't catch them all. So, so again, like Alice, like I said, it wouldn't hurt to take something off the table. Watch for the pullback, because if you get the pullback, that will give you the opportunity to buy more. And your inflection point is going to be that 131. That's where it would be reasonable to anticipate some kind of buying activity or support. Okay? Something to keep in mind there. But remember, give it a chance too. If it takes out that doji high, it may push a little higher. All right, but I wouldn't get too wild with the expectations. All right, so good question, and thank you for pointing that out. Okay. So Baba. All right, Hamid, let's take a look at Baba. So I hope that answers your question about Qualcomm. Baba. Now, interesting, Alibaba. I would have thought that this thing would be performing better with the what's the market's doing right now. This thing should be doing better. All right. This is although we have a good location, nice pin bar today. Okay, that's a bullish sign. What concerns me, and again, the overall structure is bullish as well. This whole thing is bullish, so that you're buying into a higher low if you're interested in buying it. If it takes out that pin bar high. All bullish signs. My only concern is the S&P is at a resistance. What is this doing at a support? This thing should have been a buy signal. This should have looked like this on Friday. Okay, not today. So that's a little unusual. But if you want to just look at the structure, this is technically a long setup. Okay, so if we put the S&P aside, the relative strength aside, you have a pullback into a support. You have a pin bar, which is a setup. Just need confirmation, which would be break the high of the pin bar at 290.5. So if you're interested in it, taking the long signal, just remember your risk will be defined by this low. Was it 279? Basically 279.5. So you're about what, 8 or 9 points of risk. You're going to have to probably give yourself an extra point on something like that. Put the stop slightly lower and see if this thing goes anywhere. I mean, can it run to the 300 area? It can do it. That's your resistance over in this area. You could see here, right? There was some support there, that minor support, that 305. Now it would probably be a resistance. So you could try to play that game. But again, like I said, my only concern is why the S&P is near its high there, and this thing is just coming off of a support, so which means it's underperforming. maybe one way to compensate for that would be smaller size, right? So instead of 100 shares, you try out 50 shares or 25 shares just to compensate. And if it goes to, you know, what it technically should do, great. At least you had it, you know. But if the S&P pulls back and this thing takes out that low, then, you know, it won't be as painful, right? And you compensated for the risk. Remember, we always emphasize risk first, okay? We always respect risk. And a lot of times we won't take a trade because of the risk. That's why we've been staying away from Bitcoin. All right, so anyway, I hope that helps. So speaking of Bitcoin, so do I think that this will be a Bitcoin fake out? Right, so back to Bitcoin. I mean, this is beyond the failed high. This is way beyond failed high territory here. I mean, this is not a failed high. So this is a clear-cut, you know, decisively strong close. I mean, we're going to close here in a couple hours. If this was going to fake out, we should be seeing the pin bar, but there's no pin bar. So I am anticipating a pullback, or at least I would like to see a pullback before I do anything. I wouldn't touch this because the risk of retrace, the higher this thing goes, and when it goes vertical like this, the risk of retrace is even worse. If I was not willing to buy it here at 13.6, do you think I'm going to buy it at 15,000? You know, at some point it's going to catch up and people are going to sell off. I mean, that's just the cycle, and I'm going to wait for that. Okay, I'll wait for support. So when I see these vertical moves, like I say, I ask, where are the levels? Where's my next support? And that's at 13.6, around there. And I can reevaluate there. See what the price action looks like at 13.6. If we don't pull back to 13.6, well, then I have no trade. You know, and I'm not going to share trades with people just for the sake of sharing a trade. We could have done that here at 13.6. We could have said, oh yeah, we'll just put one out there and blah, blah, blah. Right? But I don't want to, if I'm not willing to take the risk, or if I think it's not reasonable, then, you know, I won't put it out, because we have to be mindful, you know, especially for newer traders who don't realize the risk that they're facing in these situations. So I hope that answers your question there. So, you know, short answer, I don't expect a fake out, but at some point a pullback. So DJ, maybe I should have been more specific. Options aren't working, both long and short. Okay, the time is the biggest factor. My trades aren't working. Okay, wait, trades aren't working for the smaller time frame. All right, so options on the S&P. Now, so I guess you weren't in that Q short that we had. The Q short that we called a few weeks ago. If I go back to those Qs, you know, that Q short, Andrew sent that out. I remember it was on a Tuesday, because we were about to do the Talking Markets show, and I had to make him send it out because I had to set up for the show. So that was a short here. So as far as options go, well, in these situations, DJ, well, something like the Qs, you don't have to buy. It's not. I don't think it's necessary to buy like 6 months out, because we're looking, when we take these trades, we're looking for a move to unfold relatively quickly. You know, over the next few days or next week or something like that. When we took that short, that's what we were looking for, right? So in situations, you probably don't have to buy that far out, maybe 2 months. Okay, front month is usually a bad idea to buy anyway, either way. But maybe 2 or 3 months out, because we're looking for the move to unfold relatively quickly. The other thing is you have to wait, you know, for the confirmation. So again, don't be discouraged by 4 trades in a row that didn't work out. It sucks. It's not fun to go through, but it's not, you know, it can happen. Let's just put it that way. So let's focus on just the right behavior for the next one. If you're doing everything right and the trade doesn't work out, well, that's not your fault. You know, it's just the market refused to cooperate. That's going to happen, right? But if there is something that you're doing wrong, then, and we can figure that out, then it's just a matter of correcting, you know, the thing that you're doing wrong to improve your performance. All right, so maybe you could tell us more about like your options trades. Now, Pal seemed to, okay, so I answered that. Okay, so Pal, so earnings next week, you want to be cautious. Okay, no problem. You know, those are earnings report, that's a risk. And just like NFP, it can turn things around real fast. Same with Groupon, right? They have earnings, and they may say something wrong, and next thing you know, the stock is looking okay now. Next thing you know, it's minus $5 out of nowhere, right? And a chart's not going to help you with earnings. So it doesn't hurt to be cautious. All I'm saying is, so one thing you could do, like I said, take a smaller, hold on to a smaller position, and you have to be willing to take that risk. If you're not willing to take the risk, then there's nothing wrong with taking your money off the table. Nothing wrong with that, even if you miss whatever. Look, we sold Bitcoin at 13,250. Things at 15,000. Do you think I feel bad? No, I don't feel bad. I'm not short. What do I care? I'll just wait for the next opportunity. It's a good thing we don't short Bitcoin. All right, now, so let's see what else we have here. DJ, weekly options. Yeah, weekly options. See, DJ, yeah, I don't like weekly options. So you probably will get a better performance if you go to like the 2-month, maybe 3-month. Yeah, they're going to be a little more expensive, but weeklies, you have to be so perfect with weekly, especially if you're out of the money. If you're going to do weekly, you should probably be in the money, deep in the money or something, so that you're taking advantage, because of the time decay, like you said. I don't like weeklies at all. You have to be so right. It's like total gambling, So all right. So thanks for mentioning that. I would. It's either buy deeper in the money or just buy more time if you're buying out of the money, more than a month for those type of trades. Okay. So let's see here. Groupon. Okay, right. November 6th. That's tomorrow for Groupon. So things could change real fast. All right. Thanks for mentioning that. I knew it was sometime soon, sooner than I thought. Okay, DJ. Okay, we talked about that. So I'm just catching up here in the chat. Pal, what about VIX? All right, so what's he saying here? Do you use the same technical analysis? Looking at VXX ETF. Okay, so let's take a look. Now, well, I mean, for something like this instrument is, you could use technical analysis on it, but it doesn't trend exactly like a stock. It's driven by different things. You could see here, I mean, like you could say, oh, there's like a bottom developing and blah blah blah, but you can't really go by that. So you're looking at the pin bar, right? The pin bar to go long. Yeah, the candles I would pay attention to, especially like day to day candles. You have a pin bar, which means obviously the index is going higher. What does that mean? That means people are buying puts. People are buying puts, they're anticipating that the stock market's going to go lower, right? They're buying for safety or whatever, and that's a bearish sign, right? That's what that means. So if you're looking at those VIX products, like the VXX ETF, let's take a look at that. I mean, so look where you are there. But again, remember, these products are pretty much gambling products, especially with the way they work. You can't hold on to them for long periods of time. And you really have to be right. Now, I know this one strategy, Andrew talks about this sometimes, about, basically you buy puts every month and most of them go worthless. They go worthless. And you just keep buying puts. And then 1 month you have a gigantic move in the VIX. And then you make all your money back plus more. But that strategy, you could be throwing money at the VIX for a year before you get the move, right? And you have to do it every month. So I don't like strategies like that. I don't like that at all. I think there's just so many better things you could do. So I'm not a big fan of those instruments, to be honest with you. But if you're going to work with them, I would say pay attention to the candles. And you could look at like some level. If there's a level, like there's a level here, that could be meaningful. You had a range here, but I would really focus more on the candle. Okay, and I wouldn't expect much, because again, those big dramatic moves, they come out of nowhere. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. I have to say, you also form, FORM. Let's take a look. So, oh man, form factor. Yeah, someone brought this up. Who brought this up? Was it you, pal, that brought this up? And I talked about, because I mentioned this was one of those breakout trades that we talked about in the webinar. Okay, because the breakout is one setup. It's a setup that you can take, but it just carries different risks than the other ones. And when they work, they work. I mean, yeah. So what a nice move on that one. Wow. Yeah, we didn't call that one for real. I'm telling you, pal, we need to hire you so you can come in the chat room and just call these. Give us so we don't have to watch all these things. Nice move. But yeah, what's nice about that is I covered a nice example of the mechanics behind this in that webinar that I had on Saturday. By the way, if you remember, actually, I was going to say it's in the webinar library, but no, it's not in there. I haven't had a chance to put it in there yet, but I will. Okay, so let me see what else we have here. Hamid, I have the stock from 230, but now I want to buy its option. Okay, now what stock is that, Hamid? What stock is, if you can just refresh my memory. So DJ, you weren't on the cues. Okay. It cost 800 to approximately to learn that lesson. No more weekly. Yeah, weeklies are, like I said, they're tough. They're tough. So yeah, Hamid, if you want to tell me which stock you're talking about there. Tarkus, if we have a solid close above 16K in Bitcoin, path is clear to an all-time high of 20K. 20K can be a strong resistance. All right, so good question. Good question, Tarkus. So here's the thing. Let's go back to Bitcoin. And I would not expect a straight line move to 20K. That's herd mentality thinking. So even if we close above 16, the more vertical we go, the more of a chance this thing pulls back. And going in a straight line to 20K is, I mean, anything is possible. So I'll say that anything is possible, but the probability is low. To see this thing do this, probability is low. Okay. And after a move like that, I would expect a big pin bar. It's too much. It's too much, too quickly. So I would be looking for a pullback. That's it. Like, that's the only thing I would do. I would not get excited about this move right here. This is high risk, and the higher it inches, the higher risk it's going to be. If you're being exposed to a lot of hype and a lot of 20K this and 20K that and blah 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 blah, they're just cheerleading. Markets typically don't go in a vertical line. I mean, look back here. This thing was vertical for a bit, right? And then it started to hesitate. And then it pushed a little further and it started to hesitate. So maybe we'll get one of those, okay? But these hesitations, they do offer some continuation patterns. Although they will be aggressive, maybe we'll call one if we see, some type of continuation pattern where it's just relentless. Perhaps we'll call it an aggressive trade in that type of situation. But right now, there's no reason to buy into this, okay? I don't care if it goes to 16K. I don't care if it goes to 1650. There's not going to be any straight path to 20K, or I should say it's highly unlikely to see a straight path to 20K. All right, let's put it that way. Because again, we have to be open to everything. Anything is possible. It's just a low probability. It's like you're playing, it's like poker. Look, this game is very much like poker. If you don't know poker, you should learn, just learn how poker works. This is a situation where, like, you're given, the dealer gives you your cards to start out, and you have like the lousiest cards, like a 2-8 offsuit. It's like the lousiest. You can't do anything with that hand. So the right thing to do on something like that is to throw away the cards, right? And not raise any bet, not call any bets, because it's a lousy hand. So you throw the hand away before the flop, and then what comes out, right? You had a 2 and an 8. What comes out on the flop? 2 8s. So now your garbage hand could have been a winning hand, but you threw them away. And I should have held. No, you shouldn't have held, because what were the chances that the 2 8s were going to come out in the flop? Very low. So it's an illusion to think, oh yeah, it would have worked if I just held this one time. There is no one time. You have to play by probabilities. Okay. So now Tarkus is saying, okay, I'm just don't want to sell too early. Oh, all right. Well, so Tarkus, you're a strong hand. If you are in this from lower prices, you're a strong hand. Right now, at this moment, there's no reason to sell. Okay, like I said, I told Alice and I told, I forget who I can't even remember who I told. But Pow, it was Pow. Never hurts to lock something in on a vertical bar. Never hurts to lock something in. Okay, because you don't know if the bar is going to continue. But at this moment, there is no sell signal. So what you can do again is maybe, I don't know how much you have, but let's just say you have one coin. Let's just say, okay, you can maybe sell 15% of that, okay, or 10%, just a small portion, just to reduce risk and make yourself an even stronger hand. If it pulls back, you can buy that portion back. If it doesn't pull back, you're still in it. Okay, that's the advantage to being a strong hand. Don't think that you're going to sell your entire position at the top. That's not a good. That's just as bad as thinking you're going to buy the bottom. Okay, it's gambling mentality. So thanks for the question. Good. Okay, any recommendations on Baba? All right. So yeah, Hamid brought up Baba earlier, and again, good structure. Like I said, there's a buy setup in there. And you know it's a decent long candidate if the S&P was in a better position. Now the S&P may break out and go higher, and this thing will start to catch up perhaps. Now to answer your question as far as a long term, it's hard to say. I mean, just going by the structure that I see here, it's a strong stock. So at this point, if I was long Baba, there's no reason to get out of it. It's a strong stock. So even if it pulls back, you hold it. Where you should be concerned on the long term is when it starts breaking significant supports. And right now, your first level would be there, 265, right? And even then, if you're a long-term holder, that just means, you know what, you're going to hold on, just not going to buy more until you get some more stability developing in this thing. But right now, that's your level. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to long-term, it really helps to be more in tune with the fundamentals and the catalysts that are driving this thing. I am not, because I don't pay attention to fundamentals. I don't look at these things long term. So it helps to do that. If they have a good long-term outlook and you know they have they're positioned to do good things in the future, then hey, you know the chart agrees with that. I can at least say that, right? The chart right now agrees with that. Also, it may be a good idea to just really look far back, right? And just again get a sense of its history. I mean, look at this. There's nothing bearish about this chart. For going back a few years, there's nothing bearish about it. So is it a good long-term hold? At this point it is, based on this chart. Like I said, when it starts breaking supports, that's when you should be concerned. You know, it doesn't hurt to bang out of it and then be prepared to get back in, you know, at a really good price. Or just be prepared to average into it more if there is a dramatic pullback. But at this point, there's nothing there that says that. Okay, so good question. I hope that answers it. So let me see where else we are here. Okay, to look at some of the biotechs. Oh, yeah. All right, so some other positions that we had. Well, see, and that's the thing with those. So this was a trade of the week, and this one was a buy limit below the market, which was risky to begin with, right? And I explained that in the email. This thing went below that stop. What's the low? What's the low here? 85. What's the low there? 84.61. Wow, that stopped out. I mean, let me see, low. I have a low of 84.55, and this low here is 84.61. So, I mean, maybe there was some funny business in there, like, you know, kind of like the U.S. election right now. I don't know. Maybe there was some fake orders in there or something. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, based on this chart, I don't see the stop out. Let me just check that again. 84.61, and stop loss is 84.55. So if you manage to hold on to this thing, then hey, it's in good shape now, right? Target one is at 110.25. Today's high is at 103.99. So that thing is trying, and there's no reason to get out of it. But that's a tough one. Those are tough holds. Again, we sent this one out, right? Andrew called it out up here on Trade of the Week, right? We called it out up here, and I put the order way below the market, all right, because I was looking for that type of price action. Where was that? This thing at the time was at 103. Okay, right? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. That price is. Let me go back a little bit here. The price. Well, I'm a little. I'm confused. Hold on. Was that? Where was that trade? 103. That was around here somewhere. That was around here. I think it was this pin bar here. Okay. That was this pin bar here. And the market was way above. So when I put out the trade, the market was at 103, and I put the limit order at 94.5, and that's eventually got filled. But it went higher first, and then it got filled. Okay, so that's why I use those limit orders. The same thing with DocuSign, same type of situation. Wild price action. I mean, there's not much you can do, and I'd rather avoid the risk. I'd rather miss it than get caught in it, especially when it does that type of price that when it pulls back and pretty much went to the stop. All right, Hrtx was another one. I know Andrew sent this one out. You do have a higher low followed by the higher high. It's going into this gap territory here. Here, let's open up the chart a little bit, and let's just see whether you're going into this area right here, and that is not, if you're long, just something you have to keep in mind. That gap can act as resistance. You have this is a pin bar, but its location doesn't really make it bullish or bearish. But it is a pin bar. Typically, actually, it makes it bearish. I shouldn't say that. When a pin bar shows up at a high, it's bearish if it takes out the low. So you're in that kind of area now, but it needs to take out the low for you to really make any type of adjustment. Otherwise, give this thing a chance, see if it breaks the resistance. It got near there, and you are coming from a higher low, and it took out these little highs over here. So it's trying, if anything. Okay, it's trying. What was the other one you asked about there? Eno. Oh yeah. Well, this is like one of those. This reminds me, I should say, of like one of those electric car stocks, right? Looks like Nikola, even though they have nothing to do with each other. Right, here's Nikola. Actually, Nikola looks better than it, but Eno. So these stocks are really dependent on news. The general structure, you had all this bullish price action, which is following, this is all news generated stuff way back here, all this, and it has corrected a lot of that. Now, it tried back here with this push, but since that push, you have a lower high here. That's what concerns me about a stock like this. And I would rather find something with a better structure, something that's taken out such a high. Okay, you have like a failed low over here. That's good. And this overall structure is a big, gigantic higher low overall. It's not bad. But you are competing with this lower high, which is what, $12.99. So there's two ways you can go about this one. Let it clear that $13 area. Let it clear it, because that would be a change in structure. Then look for a pullback, or get involved now, maybe small shares, and use this low as your risk, 985. So you figure around 950. Or if you want to really give it some room, perhaps 8.25, something like that, and see if it holds. But I'm not a big fan of these because, again, these are news driven. As you can see, the S&P is pushing near highs in just a few days, and this thing can't even take out this minor resistance here, this lower high. That's relative weakness. So obviously no money is pouring into this. This thing sucks, all right? Kind of reminds me of cannabis stocks. So just something to keep in mind there. Speaking of cannabis stocks, look at this maniac, CGC, right? We were talking about, I just want to bring this one up real quick because it's like on and off, on and off, on and off. Don't touch these, man. Just don't touch these. Stay away from these. Because, again, this is all based on political scenarios. So just wanted to bring that up since kind of gave me, I thought I was looking at CGC there for a minute. That's how CGC normally behaves. All right, anyway, so I think I answered everyone's questions. All right, cool, Tarkus. Yeah, again, this game really is a lot like poker. When people ask me, questions about, how we should think and blah, 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 or a good way to practice, when it comes to short-term timing, really poker is the best analogy, okay? Because, again, it's a very similar situation. As a poker player, you have to make decisions based on very limited information. So let's see. Seaborn, hey, welcome. What do you think of Square and MicroStrategy? All right, I'll answer that. What's the ticker on MicroStrategy? If you can give me that ticker. So again, so Square is a market stock pretty much, and it's following the Nasdaq. And as you can see, it's got this gapping situation, just like the Nasdaq, just like the S&P, because they're pretty much, they've gone vertical. This is all news-driven stuff going on in those broader markets. So in these situations, do I like Square in general? Yes. In fact, when we were pulling back, I was talking about Square as a long, but the problem was, again, we had the election in the way, and I didn't want to take any chances. So I was not going to step into this, pre-election. Now, the election day is out of the way. These things are vertical. I would not touch these, okay? You're right back into the middle of this range. on something like Square. So at this point, it's 50-50. You know, it may go higher, it may go lower. Why take that chance? I want something that's going to be more, something where I can measure the probability better. I'm going to see a pullback. Okay. So 159, 160, followed by some kind of buy signal, maybe even a higher low. It doesn't have to pull all the way back there. Maybe we get a higher low, and at least I get another level where I get a setup. Something better than where it is now. I don't like buying in the middle of the range. But is it a good candidate for a long? Yes, I like Square long. Okay, I've always liked Square long. It's just tough to buy this thing. Same with Roku. You know, I like them long. It's just, you know, got to wait for the right setup. You're better off doing that, because if you get involved in too many of these things, they all have great looking charts, right? And you buy all these stocks and you get, yeah, right, I got these great stocks. And then the S&P turns the wrong way. Next thing you know, all your stocks are red. And I don't understand. These are all good stocks. And now you become a weak hand, especially when you buy too much of them, or you're too heavy in one. You become a weak hand. And we're very careful. We try to really guide our members into not becoming a weak hand. You know, it really pays to be a strong hand, just like in poker. Okay, when you have a strong hand, and you're, like, for example, you're at a good position at the table and you have strong cards, right? And that board is with you. You're not afraid, all in. You're not afraid to do it. Why? Chances are no one has a better hand than you. Especially if there's only you and like one or two other players in the hand, right? You're a strong hand. So all in, you shake the other guys out. It works very similar. Okay, but you know, the thing is with the market, you're not working with one or two players here. The market, most of the time, you're working against yourself, because that's really the psychology that you're up against most of the time, is yourself. Okay, now MSTR. All right, let's take a look real quick, and then I got to wrap this up soon. I've been talking too long. You guys know I have this tendency to talk for like 2 hours, and it's not good, right? You guys are it's gonna hurt your ears. So MicroStrategy. All right, same situation. In fact, this one is near a resistance. Look at this. Look at this mess. So you got this inflection point right there. You're above that. This thing's gapped. You got this resistance up here. I wouldn't chase these. Wouldn't chase them. Stay away from these. You know, is this a strong stock? Yes. You have higher lows. You have higher highs. Can it break out from this high over here? What is this high? 185. Can it break out and push higher? It can. But remember, where the S&P is, obviously this is following the S&P, and it's possible you get the failed high. That is not the position you want to get caught in. If you're going to take a chance, you're probably better off waiting for support. It's nice to buy strong stocks at supports, not resistances. People are all looking for these breakouts, but if that S&P doesn't break out, then you're all going to get caught, you know, and you're going to be stuck in these at bad prices. Right? And then if hope sets in and you don't use a stop, now you're stuck. And you know, that may work sometimes. The market may come back for you. But the one time the market doesn't come back, that's when you know, you can wipe out your account. So you want to be very mindful of that. Okay, so good question there. I wanted to buy yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it now. Wait for a pullback. HS. Oh yeah, HS talking about, yeah, HS, it's you know, and even not even taking sides, right? Because again, I'm not making political videos here, but just the fact that in this country we don't have a stable system to elect a leader is really sad. Okay, and we should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that, you know, and then we claim to be the example of democracy. You know, I don't know, not in this situation. It's sad. So. Can't buy anything. Nasdaq 100. Right. And it's exactly right. You know, again, you're buying highs is a bad idea. These things. I mean, look at this. This is going to lure a lot of inexperienced, reactive traders from, like, you know, Robinhood, because they tend to be more reactive, and they're going to all buy into this. Oh, the stock market's going higher. Oh, everything is safe now. Blah blah blah. You're buying into a very risky area, okay? And that's going to affect stocks. That's why many of these stocks that you're bringing up, I'm saying avoid them near these highs, because again, this is going into failed high territory, right? And I'll probably draw a box up in here somewhere tomorrow and let people know if we push into there, just like I had these boxes here, you know, on previous moves, that's failed high territory. I don't want to be buying stocks up there. If anything, I'm thinking of shorting the Nasdaq in such a situation, or the S&P if it can give a signal and a setup and a place for me to measure risk. I'm not going to step in front of it. But a vertical move like this, driven on, political news, no way. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it to the high of that. No way. All right, too risky. So Christian, hey, welcome. Active investor can paid only with Bitcoin? Hold on, Christian. Oh, that's a good question. So you're asking about the membership. Well, for the 6-month and yearly, you can pay in Bitcoin. Okay. Monthly, no. So you might want to consider that. There's a link. If you go to our page and you look at the pricing page, whatever, there's a link that says pay in Bitcoin, and it'll take you to the instructions. Basically, you have to send an email to Andrew, and he'll send you the link and all that stuff. We don't have that automated. All right. We should, but we don't have it automated. So, but we can accept payment for 6-month and yearly in Bitcoin if you're interested. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to email. You can email Andrew at info here. I'll type in the email. Info at Greenbridge. Here, let me just type this in. You can email Andrew, ask him about that. He'll also send you instructions. MicroStrategy is basically a Bitcoin ETF. Oh, okay. Okay, good to know. I didn't know that. It has 400 million worth of Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Nice to know. I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that one up. But again, so that's going to be sensitive to Bitcoin, obviously, right? So if Bitcoin turns, that thing will probably turn. Don't chase it. I would look to Bitcoin for leadership on that. Now, let's see. Probably Republican Senate and are good for stocks because, well, right. That's the premise that Andrew was talking about earlier today. About because the Senate and all that stuff will be one way and there'll be basically gridlock and blah blah blah, and stocks are happy because that means less uncertainty. But and that makes sense rationally, but I don't like to have opinions, because again, some news can come out of nowhere that's not priced in and everything changes, out of nowhere. So just something to keep in mind there. But that rationale makes sense. Oh, I want to pay in USD, but it asks for Bitcoin. Oh, Christian, I'm not sure where you are then. If you go to our regular pricing page, we have at the top of the pricing page, if you click on Stripe or PayPal, you could pay in USD through Stripe or through PayPal. You should have that choice. If you have a problem with that, email Andrew at info, and he'll send you the correct link. But if you go to our price here, I'll type in the pricing page. Maybe you're at the wrong pricing page. I'll type it in right now, so you can check it out. Greenbridge investing. This should take you to the pricing page. Should take you there. Okay, and it should, if you go to the bottom of that, if you pick you pick the active investor and you scroll to the bottom or whatever. Now, if you're a member though, if you're a free member, then you have to go from your dashboard, which is different. Okay, so again, if you're confused, just email info@greenbridgeinvesting.com. Let Andrew know, hey, I'm trying to pay in USD. What do I do? And he'll send you a link. It may take him. You may have to wait a few hours because he may not be at his computer right now. But or he'll definitely get back to you by tomorrow. All right, or let me know if you have any questions. If you can't get that done, let me know. You can also put it in our free chat room as well. All right. Anyway, so do I have any other questions? Wow, I've been talking too long, guys. I've been talking too long. Do I have any other questions? And Christian, again, let me know. Let me know if you have any situation about that. All right. So if I don't have any questions, let me just let you guys. Let me just say this again, like Christian was bringing up there. We do have a swing trade signal service by text and by email. We have portfolio management ideas, and we have a chat room where we're updating our trade ideas and stuff each day. You could check out our 7-day free trial. Okay. Our prices are going higher. So like Christian is trying to do, he's trying to pay. He's going to lock in these prices that we have now. We're not going to raise prices on our members. But if you're new at the time that we raise those prices, well, then you're going to be stuck with the higher prices. And we're also no longer going to have the monthly membership. So if you sign up for that monthly membership now, you keep the monthly membership because we're not going to take it away from people that have it. Okay? So just wanted to put that out there. Also, if you like the channel here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel And if you like the video, please press the like button. I do work hard to make these valuable to you. I want you to come away with at least some new insight and confidence to make decisions on your own. So, and thank you for pressing the like button if you pressed it. Also, if you can, share it with your friends. That would be appreciated. So again, thank you all for spending time with me today and for all your great questions. If you have any other questions, you can also send them to that email, info@greenbridgeinvesting.com. You can come to our free chat room. If you're not a paid member, you can ask there. Or next time, you could just put it in the channel here. I'll probably be doing that, on Monday. I'm trying to keep these at 2 a week because I have so many other things that I have to do. It's hard for me to get the 3 of these per week. Okay? Okay, cool. Thanks, I appreciate that. So thank you all again for joining me. Have a great day, a great evening, wherever you are in the world. I know we have some people here, with some wild hours like 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 12 p.m., 12 a.m. at night. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this thing off. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.